Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu Rasulullah. That is, with the name of Allah, the merciful Redeemer, the merciful Benefactor. La ilaha illallah, wahdahu la sharika lahu, wallahul mulk, wallahul hamd, wa yuhyi wa yumiit, wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. Assalamu alaikum. We praise Almighty Allah, and it is with His name that we openly bear witness to His mercy and His forgiveness, and we bear witness that His is the command. We thank Him that He has given us life, that He has allowed us parents and relatives who have set standards, who have given us hope in a land of darkness, that Allah, by His mercy and guidance, has given us not just hope, but has given us victory. So we praise Almighty Allah, and we say once again, His is the dominion. Today, this day of Jummah, we assemble, as always, in respect to Allah, and thanking Him again for Muhammad ibn Abdullah, the seal of the prophets, the last prophet to Almighty from the Almighty, because we know that Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, he was not the prophet to Allah, but the prophet to humanity, and he was and is the messenger of Almighty Allah. Today we begin Jummah, this Jummah prayer, this most important day that Allah has bestowed upon us for His devotion, that we might come into an understanding of our servitude to Him and none other. So when we say Alhamdulillah, we are saying praise be to God, all of the praise, Alhamdulillah, not hamdu, but alhamdu, the praise. The praises in the highest manner, in the best of manners. That praise is due to Almighty Allah. Allah has given us the directions that we have craved for. Humanity we are speaking of. Humanity has craved for directions and guidance and success. And as we accept what He has bestowed upon us, not being selfish, but acknowledging that nothing happens unless it is by His permission. We can't die unless it is by His permission. The angels won't take our souls unless it's by His permission. And He gives us this day to come out and to assemble, to bind together, to stand together. Kaum, when you look at it, this word, as we make connections from our Sunday Ta'aleem and last Friday's Jummah, it refers to a nation, it refers to a people, and it also means to stand in one of its various forms. And we hear when the Muezzin says, Kaum, you hear this word Kaum in it, and as you learn, as you pick up Quranic Arabic grammar, and also building your Quranic word vocabulary. When you hear certain words, you say, oh, that sounds like he's saying kaum, got to come. It is there. And so this word, as you look at it, it also can be described as a resurrection, accordingly to how it is used, and as I often say to you, with the prefixes, the infixes, and suffixes. But nevertheless, this is a word that requires of the devotees of Allah to stand. And really, we're not standing for Allah because He doesn't need us to stand. But this is just something, as some used to say, a little statement, oh, this is a star in our crown when we do things that Allah has prescribed. So we ask Almighty Allah to perfect our light for us and grant us forgiveness. For Thou hast power over all things. He has power over all things. So we ask Allah for forgiveness, and we ask Him to brighten, to perfect our light. You have light. Allah has given us all light, and He has given us all ability. The same ability, believe it or not, that He has given to all of the prophets. The Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. Let's learn to think more so on the words that Allah has given us. You don't need anyone to come before you and explain everything from the Quran. In your sincerity, if you are truly following the book, truly submitting, praying as often as you can, and performing righteous deeds, you will come into good understanding. But all of us, all, that's inclusive of myself, and any imam that walks on this earth, there's always someone else that can contribute something to your education, to your understanding, your Islamic knowledge. None knows it all. If Allah had deemed it that you would have it all, He would have made it so. If He'd have made all of us, if He'd have wanted all of us to have whatever it took in order for our success, without a congregation, without a body, without a family, the family of man, our fathers and our mothers, brothers and sisters, if He wanted us just to be successful, He could have did that. Kun fayakun, be and it is. He could have made it that way. But the manner in which He has created us, in a natural state, in a state whereas we could realize our original form, come into that knowledge of originality, come into that knowledge of how Allah wanted us to be collectively as a human family. So we read from Surah 5, Ayat 48, as we ask that you listen closely. We seek refuge with Allah from the rejected enemy, Shaitan. To Thee we sent the scripture in truth, confirming the scripture that came before it, and guarded it in safety. So judge between them by what Allah has revealed, and follow not the vain desires diverging from the truth that has come to thee. To each among you have we prescribed a law and an open way. If Allah had so willed, He would have made you a single people, but His plan is to test you in what He has given you. So strive in a race in all virtues. The goal of you all is to Allah. It is He that will show you the truth of the matter in which ye dispute. So as you're reading this particular ayat, ayat 48 from Surah 5, as you're reading this ayat and you are thinking upon each and every word, the last word in this sentence was dispute. So Allah is letting us know as we read the book and we are accepting the book, He's letting us know there are going to be disputes. You're going to have disputes. You're not going to always be in agreement. But it doesn't mean that you don't have an opinion. But your opinion is valuable. Your opinion. It is a must that you have an opinion. Your opinion really is like a responsibility. In order as a man, as a servant, as a devotee, as one who does the dawah, even starting with yourself, starting with myself in accepting these words. So I began by asking Allah to perfect our light for us, perfect our understanding for us, perfect our reasoning abilities, our process of logic, And that when we use the logic, when we use and think about the light that Allah has given us, within this light, within the pages of Quran, Allah has said to us that you are not the managers of each other's affairs. We can advise, but so far as being the big boss man, everyone has to listen to you because of your position. Everyone can't have a difference of opinion with you. Then you're greatly mistaken. That is not the way of Quran. It is not the way of El-Islam. El-Islam, wonderful thing occurred on the shores of America. A man, a leader, one who came from among the African Americans in this country. Imam Muhammad, if you will. May Almighty Allah forgive him his error and allow him the paradise. This man basically single-handedly, other than with the angels that Allah put by his side, and the Quran, this man converted with the help of Allah, because I know some are listening critical, those who will view this. You must understand that Allah allowed this man, brought this man up in the midst of turmoil, but yet in a situation where there was some good, and there were those who were struggling and trying to bring insight, light in its purest form to all of humanity, but certainly those who were known as the colored man, of the Negro, of the black man, of the African American. Because the Quran gives us that which will allow us a state of humanism where we become those who accept our role, and we accept the title humanity as a saying in connection, that we have become more refined because of the work of this man. But most so we know we can point back to Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, because Imam Muhammad loved Prophet Muhammad. And he would challenge you, he would tell you, look, I follow Muhammad ibn Abdullah. Or he would say Muhammad the Prophet. And so, you don't realize the greatness, what has happened in history, the historical account of what this man did. Some say 1975, but he actually took office in 1974. He was doing the works. But when he started the process and the things that he did, the way that he dismounted the mysticism, but yet still complementary of Farad, Muhammad, and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He dismounted the myth, but he kept the best of the teachings. But what he did, still complimenting all those who came before him. That's something that we have to realize. You should learn how to compliment and how to thank all of those who came before us to do a work, a great work, within the boundaries of America. And then be aware, I'm not saying it in a racist or hateful manner, but be aware all of the powers that existed in the known world during that time, when the descendants of Africans were enslaved on the shores of America, great armies that existed in so-called Muslim countries, no one came. Certainly there were a few individuals, but no mighty armies got in their vessels, their ships, and came to America to free or to bring freedom to those who were descendants of Africans. No one. And again, I said individually, yes, some individuals, but knowing the terrain, knowing the language, and the manner in which Imam Muhammad did it, no one else has done it. You're talking about over 1 million people who, in various manners, those who associated directly with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. There were also those who were great supporters. Don't think that you knew or you had heard of all of the people in the history of the Nation of Islam, because we know the nation, it consists of Muslims all over the world, but this was the title, this was the position, this was the organization that was established by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So we're talking about also supporters. You had millions of top leaders among blacks or African Americans who loved the Honorable Elijah Muhammad because of his stand, because of his standing. But when his son came and began to teach from Quran and give us a bigger picture, the big picture. It used to be a program a long time ago, back in the 50s, possibly early 60s also. But it was called The Big Picture. Our efforts are always in trying to get you to see the big picture. So again, I say, we ask Allah to perfect our light for us. Now, what's the best manner of perfecting this light? We know we must pray, we must have faith first of all. And I mentioned a few minutes ago that we are not the managers of each other's affairs, but we can help, we can advise, we can lend our brothers and sisters a helping hand. But if we would begin to take the Quran and let the Quran be the manager of our affairs. Are you hearing what I'm saying? Let the Quran be the manager of your affairs. Then you will find that all of the disputes that you might have with your brothers and sisters that have turned into negativity, you will find, wait a minute, I've wronged myself and I have wronged my brothers and sisters. Let me see what Allah has to say about this. Brother, let's go to the Quran and not try to find verses that back my case up, but whatever I back up or whatever I say, let it bring a balance to the life forces, to those who say they walk in the light. So we ask Almighty Allah to bless us with an understanding that we let this manual, this book that is perfect. I want that to soak in. This book, it is perfect. There is no book on earth that is equal to the Quran. None. In fact, as Muslims, if something has been deemed as being a fact, then as Muslims, you should judge it in according to the criteria, to the narration of Quran. So in doing that then, that gives us prestige. Not that we're looking like the president of this country was doing the other night in the State of the Union. Every time they begin to give him applause, he turned just like a statue. Looking like some Adolf Hitler, or Mussolini, Benito Mussolini of Italy, a dictator. And we saw the proudness, and as the Quran mentioned, stiff-necked, as the Bible mentions, stiff-necked and rebellious. A man who has a problem in serving all of humanity, only one to serve just a few, the rich, the super rich. And you can hear they applaud some of them, the way some of them took a stand. For what? For corruption. Our stand is for what is right. So what Allah has sent down to us, there is no equal. I don't care what book you bring, how great it is. I think it's a wonderful, great book, something that came from us as a people. And certainly we read knowledge no matter where it comes from, because really in the actuality of Al-Islam, of those who practice the faith, who practice the religion of Al-Islam. And this man, Muhammad, Muhammad, he started more so the Muslims in this country and even abroad. They were saying Islam, Islam. And Imam, what did Imam said? Al-Islam. And as you learn to read the Quran, you will see the definite article of the. This is the religion. This is the debt. This is the practice that we should follow. This is the righteous way. This is the thing that would bring us back to our origin. This is the thing that would help us when we hear the word nafatati, filukat. Those who seek to whisper, who seek to deform, who seek to distort your balanced life, your original pattern, your original nature. Have you confused about your own mind? Have you wondering about which way should you go? Those who whisper. Don't you know if something is more to it than just when you hear that he saved Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, that he lived among us 40 years. Wonderful. The prophet living among us 40 years. I say, us? We were back there with the prophet. Then you are not listening. Where's your collective spirit? Where's your agenda for the uniting of Muslims all over the world, for the uniting of believers? This religion calls for unity among the believers. And Allah has given those who say that they are the Jewish faith, those who say that they are the Christian faith. This book is for everyone, and here it is God. Here it is Allah saying, I prefer for you this deen. I prefer for you this religion of Al-Islam. And here it is. And I'm sending it in a common man, one who is not of letter, one who does not come from your schools of thought, your educational process, but one who lived among you for over 40 years. But let's look at this 40 years. Let's look at our life and where we are in our understanding. 40 years. What happened after 40 years? The prophet was made conscious of what he had. The prophet in living among thieves and robbers and adulterers, those who were polytheistic, those who had tribalism that dominated their minds. Their tribe was better than someone else's tribe. My section of town is better than your section of town. Those who misused women and children, those who buried their newborn children in the sand if it was a little girl. They wanted men, they wanted boys. The prophet was in an environment like that. A just man. When others got ready to leave town, they respected him so much. This one that was known as El-Amin, the trustworthy, they would leave their riches, they would leave their valuables with him. When they took a journey to go out on a caravan to bring back trade, they knew that their property was safe with El-Amin. So this 40 is also, did you know 40 is also a universal number? 4, the number 4. What is 40? 40? What is 40? It's 10 fours. What is 10? It's 10 ones. Listen at this and go back and play it in your mind and think about it. And the prophet was one who didn't come just to assist or to teach or to warn the Meccans, but the whole world. That's what this message was for. That's what this Quran is for. It's for the whole world. A perfect book for the whole world. You've been looking for it. Now here it is. And what's that old R&B song or what it is? Now you got it. What are you going to do with it? Now that you have the truth, now that your light, the light that you seek, is clear in your mind now for the first time. And so here he is after 40 years after the prophet left the cave, after he was climbing up the mountain, after he was ascending in knowledge, though yes, he went to Jabal Nur. He went to the mountain of light, Jabal Nur. He went to the mountain of light. And so in going up this mountain of light, as he was climbing, as his intentions, all of the while, he was going through this process and seeking an understanding and being tired. And what's the old saying? Being sick and tired of being sick and tired. As he was doing this in this process and entering the entrance of this mountain, the entrance of this cave, as we learn, as you learn, as humanity learn, to go deep inside of your own mind and thinking and get there to find out, I don't know a dadgum thing. So as a believer, when you go inside, when you sincerely get tired of what you're doing and you know that it's not working for you, it's not bringing unity for you within your own refine, within your own body. You say, I can't do this. I can't do it by myself. So now here's a process of surrendering starts, because you're realizing that you don't have it. And you begin to realize as you seek to grow that you can't listen to those who whisper into the hearts of mankind, into your own heart. We can't listen. If it's negative, if someone is giving you something that's good, you should accept it. You know, in some sense, when someone is trying to give you charity or to assist you with something and you refuse it, that is a sin in that. So it doesn't mean that you go and beg, but when others are trying to give you something, you should show some type of appreciation. Either, I thank you so much. But I'm really not in it, but I thank you so much. And if you see the person feeling a little rejected, go ahead and accept it. Allah gives to us what is good. He always gives what is good. But he tests us. And so in this journey that we are on, and as the prophet was climbing, ascending, rising up, and when it hit him, now he became alive because Allah had given him that which would awaken, which would make him aware of what was on his conscience, what he should be consciously aware of in his life. How to see what was really going on in the so-called society. And so when he saw this, now his vision, because he had climbed so high, because Allah had elevated him and had given him assistance in the angel Jibreel. And so as Jibreel taught him, as he squeezed him, they said, eventually on the second time he began to see, but it said it went 3 times. But think about that. You, us, think about it. And this squeezing, it's saying, I can't read this. And so reading on this always means that you are calling words, but sometimes it comes to a point where you are struggling. I just can't get it. I don't understand it. And someone is driving you. Come on, you can get it. Here's a formula. Here's a method. Here's a solution to this problem. But you got to think on it. Just because you want it, show me how bad you want it. A Michael Jordan, a Sojourner Truth, a Harriet Tubman, a Frederick Douglass, a Booker T. Washington, a George Washington Carver, name them. Marcus Garvey, these people that I'm naming, they were hungry. They kept driving. They kept reaching. They kept thinking, how can I do this? And so as they worked for it, as they were striving, the lights began to come on. Might have been a little dim at first, but they kept seeking ways. Harriet Tubman going through the woods on many trips to the north. In her journey, she wouldn't let anything stop her. Said she had a 45, a pistol and a hatchet, a pistol and a knife. And anyone who desired to turn back, they was going to face the bullet, that they were going to face the knife. A woman leading the way to freedom. So here was Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, leading the way to freedom. Leading the way, being an excellent example. So this 40 is saying much more than that he was 40 years old. It's not just talking about the age, that age. It's talking about the realization of him understanding what Allah had given him. This 40, this 4, I said 4 is a universal number. Well, let's look and see how Allah brings us knowledge and wisdom. In the evening, 6 o'clock news, 12 o'clock news, 10 o'clock news. And what does this news come from? And I recall in our studies, in talking about the news, Scripture, Bible and Quran, it talks about the winds and how the winds carry away the clouds. How it raises the clouds up and the clouds go way up. And it's after a while as the winds are blowing the clouds that they break up. And as they accumulate various moistures, and it comes to H2O, and say that this water from these clouds, it descends back down. Now let's look at the clouds, metaphorically speaking, as representing confusion in your mind, complication in your mind, oppression in your mind. But as you think on the knowledge and wisdom that Allah gives you, gives to humanity, as you think upon this, then Allah gives you this light. And as you are ascending up in the pattern in the middle of Abraham, having faith, thinking. As you are saying in your thinking, with Quranic guidance, letting the Quran be the methodology in which we use, the book in which we use, this manual of operation in which we have, this manager of our affairs, as you let the Quran be your manager of your affairs, as you are sitting, as you're rising up, Allah allows you to rain down on your family, on your neighbors. Rain down how, brother? Because the knowledge that you acquired by trying to be sound and upright, as you study the Quran, and when you speak with the Quranic voice, with the language that Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him, that he utilized, that he taught, you are giving information, you are sharing the light that Allah has given you from the Quran, and you will assist others in their growth. There's someone in your life that you admire. And when that person speaks, it might be a best friend, it might be your brother or father or mother, but they have your ear. You listen to them. So when Prophet Muhammad is sending, and it was already decided that this man was trustworthy, you can rely on his word. Let's hear what Muhammad has to say. So there's someone that we can accept. We are to love Prophet Muhammad. We should love the Quran. And so when talking about the various winds, as they move the clouds away, and as the water descends from the clouds, where there's no more confusion, think about what I said in terms of early in the morning, 6 o'clock news, the 12 o'clock news, 12 noon, 6 o'clock again, 10 o'clock again. How do you spell news? N-E-W-S. N-E-W-S. But have you thought that this N-E-W-S, it represents the north, the east, the west, and the south. But it's even more so than that. N-E-W-S. The N represents in another manner. It represents the news. The E represents entertainment. The W, when you begin to look at the W, what is the W? Weather. So then when you look at this S, it's sports. Now I have just given you a description of what this Western world, where it places its emphasis. On the news, they give you international news, they give you, say this is the local news, the international or the national news, and international news. But what about more so what their agenda is? It is to keep us grounded, as the Quran mentioned, in sport and play. In the days of the Colosseums and even before, where did they fight their battles? Where did they put on their show? In the arena. Today we have the arenas, the sports arenas. And we see many millions of dollars are being spent on gambling, on games of chance. Allah has given us the Quran, has given us the life of Prophet Muhammad as a wonderful example. Let us continue to try and understand and to study every aspect of his life. And not just to take things so literally. Literally, certainly in the Quran, much information, much knowledge. But as you learn to dig deep, you will find that Allah will reward the worker. He will reward you for your efforts. And Allah says, no efforts, it's the Quran, no efforts are left unrewarded. Whatever you do of good, Allah is going to reward you. But also remember that whatever we do, there's a consequence. There's a television program called The Truth of Consequence. And your parents, my parents tell me, all right, there's a consequence to what you do. So if you do something good, you're rewarded. If you do something bad, considered bad, then some might call it a spanking or a whipping. But whatever it is, Allah sends warners in our midst, looking just like us in the human form, looking like how we need to look. We all look like Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him, if we are following what he gave in his lectures, in his talks, in his examples. We look just like him. And if we follow the middle of Abraham, we look just like our father Abraham. As we work, as we understand that we must progress, that there's a line of ascendancy where we go up, but we must also come down. Assalamu alaikum. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu Rasulullah. Dear beloved believers, I greet you once again and coming to the conclusion of this Khutbah. I greet you once again in the greetings of peace of Assalamu alaikum. This final verse, ayat that we will read from the Quran in conclusion of our Khutbah today, was just a few comments. It is from Surah Baqarah, ayat 256. And the ayat before, which I had recommended and suggested, that you read the ayat 255, ayat Kursi. Very, very important ayat in the Quran and in the teachings of Islam in explaining to you who Allah is, some of his capabilities, strengths, in fact, however we can imagine, whatever we might imagine in terms of what Allah knows in our little small minds as humanity, as we study Quran, it tells us that if the wisest among us came together, they could not produce a book like the Quran. It mentions if all of the oceans or seas were combined together, and if all of the trees were pens, it would not be enough to write down all of the knowledge and wisdom of Almighty Allah. So here Allah tells us, let there be no compulsion in religion, in the deen. Truth stands out clear from error. Whoever rejects evil and believes in Allah has grasped the most trustworthy handhold that never breaks. And Allah heareth and knoweth all things. Wallahu sami'un alim. So listen at that. And I said, it's not a, you don't have to accept this. You don't have to pray. You don't have to give into charity. You don't have to make the Hajj. You don't have to fast. You don't have to have faith. But there's a consequence for you not doing it. It is highly recommended that we have faith and belief. It is highly recommended that we have respect and love for our brothers. Not our Turkish brothers or Russian brothers or whoever, but our brothers. We have to begin to reprogram our mind and get away from what we think is important in terms of our color, our culture, our tradition. Certainly our cultures and tradition are very, very, very important. But what's more important than me being able to work with my brother and sister for the progression of mankind, of humanity? So we ask Almighty Allah to bless us with an understanding and to protect us against those who blow on knots. We revisit this. Those who blow on knots. We ask Allah for protection. What is this blowing on the knots? Have you thought about this? Why? What is the Quran talking about? Those who protect us from those who blow on the knots. As you look up these words, it's talking about a resolve that you have, a position that you have, a standard that you have, character that you have, the character of a Muslim, one who practiced, again, what? El-Islam, not Islam, but El-Islam. So we owe a debt to Allah because He has given us life. He has given us a wholeness. So I mentioned these four winds, the northeast, the north wind, the southern wind, all these different winds. And in the book known as the Bible, and Quran puts it in other words, they said that the winds, these four winds, would blow on the dry bones. And the dry bones, they would come alive in their flesh. The Quran gives us examples in terms of how Allah talks about the skeletal system, the skeleton, the bones, and how the bones are clothed with flesh. The flesh is very sensitive. If you're about to be burned and your body comes in contact with heat or what have you, first you have a warning. But if you don't respond, you're burned. Allah has given us a warning from the Quran through Prophet Muhammad and other men, other prophets. We have this tremendous warning, but Allah lets us know, if you continue in your folly after you have been warned from one who comes from among you, then I'm going to extend the rope for you. I'm going to let you continue to dangle And one day I snatched the rope. First you see pictures of movies and you see people falling off and they're trying to grab the rope and the rope just keeps just unfolding. You see it in movies, old Western movies. They show when people are being hanged. Oh, they're standing up there, but when they hit that level, oh, the rope is a little loose, but it catches. Allah will eventually penalize us for the wrong that we do. But in that, the one God, the only God, Allah, has told us He is all forgiving, most merciful, waiting, willing to forgive His adherents, His devotees. Let us take advantage of that. Not that I'm saying take advantage of Allah, because again we read, He sees all, He hears all, He knows all. So let's take advantage of the blessings that Allah put before us. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب آمين.